Hey, how's it going, my friends? Oh
Hey,
no.
what's up? No, I thought you said my friends. My bad.
Oh my
Great
goodness.
start. Great start.
It's keep going. It's Hollywood. No,
How's it going? How we
it's
roll?
great. It's going good. Hey everyone. As I've mentioned, it's season 3 of Please Don't Kick Me Out, the only inclusive podcast about imposter syndrome. We help you make you feel less alone. You might recognize this guy, you might recognize the voice, or as a previous guest, or if you're new here because of Ron. This is ADHD Coach Ron, who has been a previous podcast guest. Because I'm trying video and I'm 1,000, I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, Ron, how the heck are you?
I'm chilling, doing good, sitting in my Harry Potter closet here and
Oh, under the stairs?
yeah, under the stairs.
Uh-oh.
I know. It's actually my wife is a voiceover artist, and so
Hmm.
we turned our under the stairs into like a little voiceover booth. So I was like, "Oh, perfect for when I need to do podcasts." So it's
Yeah,
great.
that's awesome. That's awesome. It's good
Yeah.
to have you back. For anyone that's new to this podcast is about imposter syndrome. That it's a feeling of self-sabotage. I don't deserve this, et cetera, et cetera. We've been going, rocking and rolling since 2020. We took a little bit, I say we as if I have multiple personalities. I took a little bit of a hiatus here in 2021, just after some ADHD, actually very relatable things. And you met me right before my mental breakdown.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
isn't that
Yay.
fun? Yeah. So I've had to deal with so just so we're clear here, Ron has ADHD. I also have ADHD. I was diagnosed at age 30. I'm going to be 34 this year. And I have kind of gone through the gamut of medications and same medication, just multiple dosages, XR and IR and that kind of stuff. And also I've been basically medicated since 30, yeah, since 29. Oh, no, sorry. No, I was 30, almost 31. And I was always on this one type of thing at the right dosage. And then when I moved to Hawaii, I thought I needed more because I was basically burning through it, just so stressed out all the time. They ended up putting me on an SSRI as well as this thing that I was already on. And that didn't work because it was also peak pandemic time, right?
Mm,
So I was taking 2 XRs of the 10 because they upped my dosage, and then they prescribed me 20s, but they didn't remind me that, hi, don't take two, but you have ADHD brain, right? So you got a routine.
yeah.
I ended up overdosing.
Oh, dang.
And it was very scary. And I don't really talk about it in my podcast, but I think it's relevant because I interviewed you, gosh, like maybe a week before, 2 weeks before that happened.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really, really a really scary time for me. My husband had to fly back from Maryland to come back and
I remember
be with
that.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then after that, I felt like Bella in Twilight, where it was like, there's a possibility. I also blew my voice out. Sorry. And I was very, very, very depressed. And so my husband's from Southern California, where Ron is located. And Ron and I found each other on TikTok originally because we both have an unhealthy obsession with a goofy movie.
Hmm.
And I also own the Hawaii vanity plate PWRLNE power line.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's fun. But that's how I found you. You came on the podcast graciously. Where you were at in your career is now eons above, as I'm able to see, and
Crazy.
it's been great. It's been great to watch you on your journey. And yeah, we moved from where we were more inland, which was really a game changer for me. And yeah, life's been a lot better, I will say.
That's awesome.
It took me from hating it, which I don't. People get mad when I say, "Oh, I didn't like it." Well, yeah, I was living in like basically. Let me think of a suburb that would be relevant. Yeah, I'm just gonna say Cyprus, where my in-laws live.
Okay.
Like
Gotcha.
imagine
Yeah.
living
Yeah.
in like living far away from like everything you're close to,
Yeah.
and it's like a 40-minute drive. Finding jobs out here was really difficult. Finding a good therapist was hard. I just broke up with one and got a new one, which my new one is eons beyond what I was doing. And yeah, I mean, sometimes with ADHD, as you probably know, being a coach, you have periods where you just can't get out of bed. There's no real regulation. I had no responsibilities, and I stopped podcasting, which was something I loved doing. And my rejection sensitivity dysphoria, if your listeners aren't familiar, it's a phenomenon, but it's not really technically part of the diagnosis. That dysphoria, and having someone come at me and having a negative experience, I was just so tied to that I couldn't podcast until September of this last year. So yeah, that's where I'm at now.
That's it. It's interesting, right? Because I'm assuming you started this podcast, about imposter
Unmedicated.
syndrome. Okay, but I would say like also the fact that it was about imposter syndrome, something tells me that like that's something that was a big deal in your life. So that's
absolutely. I just
part of the
actually
coping for it.
Absolutely. I just had a podcast guest a couple of weeks ago, my first episode of season 3. Her name's Katrina. She's a longtime friend of mine from Denver. And so every person describes imposter syndrome on my podcast of how it relates to them. Because this is a previous guest, we're going to go a little off the cuff on format. 1, it keeps it fresh for my listeners. And 2, it's a candid conversation. If you're lucky enough to be another guest of mine and keep coming back as a flagship, which Ron is, we want to talk about more of how that keeps impacting and how you're still dealing with it, because it's not something that just goes away. She had brought up that hers came from childhood trauma and having a narcissistic parent. I also have a narcissistic parent and a narcissistic sibling. And so through therapy and all sorts of other things, have realized that a lot of my self-worth and my self-esteem is tied to my inner child that I'm still dealing with all the time. So I never thought about it that way. And I swear every interview I have, I learn something new about how people feel. If you hear me coughing, I apologize. If you're listening, this is an audio medium. If you're seeing me and I'm coughing, I just got diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome due to anxiety. And I had to take a breath test. Yeah, it's real fun. I had to take a breath test today before this podcast recording. So I'm can't take full breaths right now, but we're trying. So if you hear my voice go out, that's what's up.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to be back here because it's crazy. Even when you said to me that it was like 2 years ago or 2+ years
Almost
ago,
2, yeah.
It was, that's bonkers.
Wild.
I forget even like talking about imposter syndrome. So often we are, looking at what's next. And so the next thing is always like, how do I level up? And then we level up and we're in a new level. And like, no wonder we have imposter syndrome. We've not been here before. So it's like, oh crap. I don't know where I am. And we never look back. And so being able to say that like 2 years ago, realizing where I've come from and where you're at is phenomenal to take a peek at and be like, wow, this is amazing.
I guess I would encourage you to share just a little bit of what an ADHD coach, like kind of how you got into that and your background, because I think at the time I couldn't upload a video to YouTube that was as long as our conversation was, because we were both like blah. Yeah, right. So maybe just kind of like, what if someone has this, why would they contact you? What would the need for coaching be, and kind of how you fell into it?
Yeah. So beginning of the pandemic, I was actually doing really well in a career that I was previously struggling in, but I was trying to be a real estate agent, and I know. And as success started to come, I think a lot of us look for like, well, happiness is going to be when we achieve that thing that we're looking for. And when success came and there was literally no joy involved with it other than like, oh, cool, like I'm able to pay my bills now and like we're starting to save money. And so those things made life a little easier, but wasn't happy, wasn't feeling fulfilled, and was really in a weird place. So I started to have panic attacks for the first time in my life, putting a lot of pressure on myself, completely aware of what was happening. And I started going to therapy, and through therapy, I found that I had kind of disconnected from the ADHD version of myself. And I say that like anything related to my ADHD symptoms, I would mask or I would push aside and pretend didn't exist. And so I was diagnosed when I was younger, and that was kind of the answer at the time was like, here, give him some meds, go reach your potential. Don't tell people that you have ADHD, things like that. And
Yeah.
so, beginning of the pandemic, I was able to reconnect with that part of myself. And so, one way I started to do that was to post videos on TikTok. And I started doing that as like my own personal therapy. And it ended up giving me a voice, which was really dope.
Yeah.
I had people reaching out to me, um, sending me some of the most like heartfelt messages about like how thankful they are that I was able to be vulnerable and validate them. And I'm an emotional person, so the
Same.
amount of just like joy and like tears of joy that were coming from these
Oh,
messages was just like, I don't care how, but I need to do this. Like
yeah.
this
Yeah.
this kind of level of fulfillment is what I want to find. And so I realized helping people's always been a strength of mine. And so I was like, I need to get into it. I mean, I have a degree in psychology, so it's funny that I never went into that. And so
Yeah.
it was just like this perfect thing of like, no, I'm diving into this, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I wanted to be a coach. It just was something I was seeing was available for helping people. So I decided kind of on a whim to get certified. Um, I'm really lucky that I had the support of my wife, who, when I was nervous
Toot
to
toot
tell her,
quinn.
yeah, right.
She's
I was
awesome.
nervous. She is so awesome. I was nervous to tell her, and I wonder if it's because of my own insecurities around switching jobs, right? Switching careers, another
Mm-hmm.
thing that a lot of ADHDers
Money,
do,
money's money,
and
money speaks.
all of
Yeah.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really nervous to do this, and almost like before I could even get it out, she's like, "Yes, absolutely, of course." And it was such an awesome moment for us and for me. And I kind of dove right in and haven't looked back since. I say that not true, because I have looked back. There's been so many moments that
Yeah.
I've had imposter
You
syndrome,
you gotta
right?
doubt you can doubt yourself, especially a huge
For
career change like
sure.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like there's been so many times that because like success isn't just like a straight line. So there's been ups and downs, but
Yeah, absolutely.
overall, it's been the first time in my life that I've found where I've had something that I'm passionate about, and something that gives me a purpose and also mixes with my talents and strengths,
Yeah.
and it's been fantastic. And it's the longest I've ever stuck with something. Like you're saying 2 years, I've never had like a job where like even to this day, like I'm so excited for the next thing I'm doing, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I'm not
Yeah.
bored of this yet. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's awesome. So I had in season one, I had a coach. Actually, no, she's a former. You know what? Her name is Diane Winger. If I give her the wrong title, I'll feel like she'll come for me. But she specializes in neurodivergence, and
Mhm.
has a psychological background. And something she told me that stuck with me, and I will never forget it, is you are not good at selling something you don't believe in because of your ADHD hyperfocus. If you have an ADHD hyperfocus and it's something you enjoy, then you'll excel at it. But if you
Mhm.
don't believe in the product and you don't believe in what you're doing, you're going to fail.
Mhm.
Right. And so I think about that when I heard you speaking, and similar to you, for anyone that doesn't know me and they're coming here because of you. Hi, my name is Bianca Woolwick. I am a former marketing director. I have over 12 years of experience in marketing. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I was working for Lawyers Title San Diego. He who shall not be named. And I was a military spouse, and I was thinking, I'm not getting my value out here. I'm not making enough money, and I'm being taken advantage of, and I deserve more. And so I went to my boss and I told him I needed a raise, and he said, sure. And then he was like, just kidding. You wouldn't be happy if I gave you a raise. And then the pandemi Lovato, the pan dolce, the panini happened. My husband was getting ready to deploy, and I always wanted to start a podcast, and I'd actually produced one for my old boss, who, no ill will, just whatever, no ill will. He let me go, and that's fine. But then he came back to me and he was like, I need crisis communication. And I said, well, I cost a lot of money. So I started this podcast on a whim on March 25th, 2020. My first guest was my tattoo artist, who's my dear, dear friend. All the tattoos you see are from Christina Ayers. She is located in San Diego, California. All 9 of them. They're all my arms. There's nothing that you can't see, but she was my first guest. My second guest was my freelancer that I take everywhere with me. She made all of my merch. I got to plug her. Her name is Lara.
Hell yeah.
Yay graphic design. I take her to every job I ever get hired for. She is my queen among queens. And if you want to live your 90s fantasy, you can go to pleasedon'tkickmeout.com/shop. This comes in 13, 15, and 17 inches. It is a laptop case.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. We got mugs. We got sweatshirts. We got blankets. We got fanny packs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fanny packs.
So no, actually, I use that at the dog park all the time. I've sold more fanny packs with people that have no idea what this is about, and they're like, "That's cool," and I'm like, "Here's my link. I need to get a business card." That's an unrelated.
For sure. They've got these virtual business cards, so I've got one
Wait,
on
what?
my phone.
Oh, how?
So, right there.
How did you do that?
So mine's a link. It's LINQ. I'm like plugging other businesses right now, but basically it's it uses the I forget what it's called, right?
Do you pay a subscription on it? Sorry, that's just
nope.
unrelated. Oh,
Nope.
cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
awesome.
It uses the NFC. That's what it is. So people can just boop and they get your info.
See, we're living in a wild world. But to go, I know, to go back to oh God, to go back to this getting laid off and starting this podcast, I told myself if 9 people listened to it, right? So this podcast came because I was at a happy hour with a group of women that I know in San Diego. I'm just for your listeners, my pronouns are she and they. I am non-binary. I am also queer. Hi. And TikTok helped me discover a lot about myself, and I thank the Clock app for it. Just in terms of I've learned a lot about myself and self-discovery through my ADHD and whatnot. It's connected me to amazing people like Ron and his wife Gwen. So I was like, if 9 people listen to this, that's fine. No, more people and more people and more people and more people. And all of a sudden I have people like you. And then I had Jason Marsden, the voice of Max Goofy.
Amazing.
And that's when I was kind of in my issues with my mental health and my breakdown and whatnot. And that's when I was like, I flew too close to the sun. I don't have the mental capacity to do what I want to do anymore. And it wasn't until I went to go see a comic, and actually this is relevant. This week is what's today's date is January 27th. Wow. How is this month a million years long? January 27th, I released an episode, season 3, episode 3 with Jasmine Batista. Jasmine Batista is a comedian on Oahu. I went to see Kyle Kinane open. Friends gave me some tickets. My husband and I went date night down at the Blue Note in Waikiki. Again, I live on Oahu, if anyone's wondering. So Waikiki is where you go mostly for touristy things and concerts. It's very adjacent to Honolulu, but I live on a rock. Okay, so Oahu, Honolulu, Waikiki, they're simpatico. So we went on this date night, and because her husband had something he had to do military wise. So Rebecca gave me the tickets. My neighbor also, I met her through Bumble BFF. That's unrelated. I don't know why I'm saying it. Nervous. So we go to Kyle Kinane, and this really awesome comedian, she comes out. She doesn't find the microphone, and she kind of giggles about it. And she goes back, and I've interviewed her, and she's this podcast guest this week, season 3, episode 3. But she played it off so well. And I hadn't seen a comedy show in good goodness. Think about the pandemic, right? That started in 2020. Well, Hawaii kept their regulations all the way up until May of 2022.
Wow. Yeah.
So we were still wearing, we still wear masks when we go to the hospitals. I still wear a mask if I go to the vet. I am quadruple vaccinated. My mom tells me that that's the reason everything's wrong with me. I'm like, okay, mom. Anyway, that's besides the point. Yeah. So she opened, and I thought she was awesome. And she says, my name's Jasmine Batista. I'm your host for the night. And I just thought, this chick's cool. And so I leaned over to my husband and I said, I think I want to start podcasting again. Because my friend Mike Valdez, who's been on I'm sure you connected with him, or if you haven't, Mike Valdez, actually just met him in person last weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I flew to Florida. That's tangent. Anyway, I leaned over to my husband and I say, hey, I think I want to start podcasting again. So I reached out to Jasmine and I said, hey, my name is Bianca Woolwick. I have a podcast called Please Don't Kick Me Out. It's about imposter syndrome. You're a female comedian. I'd love to share your story. And then a lot of military stuff happened in my life. And this was September. And I didn't get back to her until December of 2022. And but anyway, that's the point, and that's the tea. And I'm now interviewing all local kama'aina, comedians, native Hawaiian. So Hawaiian means native. I've got Native Hawaiian people that I'm going to be interviewing. I stopped hating living here and I started loving it, which is a big too. And as a white person on the island, I feel the need that I have to educate everyone on an airplane because like the staff wasn't helping on my way back from Florida and all that. So anyway,
that's amazing.
What side of TikTok are you on right now, sir?
I've been in a love-hate relationship with TikTok. More
Oh,
hate recently.
what happened?
I'm struggling because the way you make videos is like totally different. I'm like, you need to use CapCut or like the audio. Anyway, with me, what I would do is like I would stop. Like I'd make a video and stop it and then start again and stop it. And like that was kind of like my way of doing it. But now like there's like a weird audio thing if I cut myself off,
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
and that like talk about
Drives me
something that will
crazy.
completely stop me from making a video where I'm just like, fuck this. And I'm like done with it. And so the things that I've been finding on TikTok, right,
Were you on
are
Corn Talk?
no, I wasn't.
You weren't
I
on. You
My
weren't on
wife
Tariq's
was.
Okay, so
So
Corn
like
Talk.
I know about it. Yeah, yeah,
Did the biscuit find you? Did you taste the biscuit?
no, but I know about it. Everything I feel like I'm on the outside from, actually one of
Because you're
my
so
really
mad. You're
yeah,
just like
right.
sitting
I'm
on the
like,
window.
"Ugh." I find that I get a lot of comedians and dog videos and cat videos and singers, which is great.
Interesting. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
that's a part of TikTok I'm
Couldn't be
on.
mine. I'm
It,
on the side of TikTok where a man married a mannequin, Shawnee and Emily. Yep, got
wow.
legally married. True story. And they had a
Yay.
baby, and the baby's a Cabbage Patch doll. Fun fact. I'm on the side of TikTok where the biscuit, Taste the Biscuit, Vincent Gargiulo was just a guest on my podcast. By the time this releases, he'll have been on the podcast already. My husband's heading home. Okay, cool. And my phone's to my right. If anyone wants to know, hi. And I'm a content creator. Look at this. I got a little tripod,
Ooh.
and I also have a ring light. But besides
That's
the point.
probably better. I have the ones that like are the arms that you connect it to like a desk or something, so I can put it anywhere, and it's got like this like
Well, I
hand.
have
But the
this,
problem,
and then I can wrap it around my
way
other
better.
thing. This is
Yeah,
from Bee's
because
Size. I don't know what it is.
okay, the problem with the one that I have is like when you, if anything around moves, because it's on this like adjustable like long snake thing,
Mhm.
that it like shakes the entire camera, and I have to like wait for it to stop. Or if I like hit pause, the phone just starts going like this, and
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
ugh. So that's a good idea. I'm gonna do
So
that.
to the biscuit
Hmm.
found me in September,
Okay.
and the biscuit has been featured on Rolling Stone. So the backstory on the biscuit, for anyone that doesn't know, and they're like, "Why is there a chrome lady walking on the beach? Why?" That actually kicked my content into high gear. So I am one of the biscuit clan. I have tasted the biscuit. All praise be the honey sauce. So Vincent Gargiulo, he created this video called Chickens in the Shadows, which was a play on Monty Python, kind of deadpan their band. He's from San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
He's amazing. You'll have to follow him. He's so funny.
Okay.
So he's a filmmaker, and then he makes his living doing office management. So someone stole his video and put it. So it was a cult following. Like it was on like pre BuzzFeed and like World Star Hip Hop, and then
Right.
uh, George Lopez had a show, and Billy Ray Cyrus sang "Taste the Biscuit." And so the movie's about like a band that's not. It's a fictional band called Toasters and Moose, and they're going on a tour of Northern California, like Bay Area, and they go to Los Banos, and they go to a thrift store, and it's all fake, right? But anyway, this guy named Dogface XX stole the audio and put it back on TikTok. And so Vince has made no money from this, but he's been featured on Rolling Stone. The Biscuit Clan is mighty. There's merch. I've bought it.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I made ornaments and I send them out to all my biscuits. I made ornaments for free and I sent them
This
out and I
is
said,
different. This is different than the croissant, right?
not croissant. No. Yeah, it's taste the biscuit, taste
Wait,
the
it is the
goodness
same
of the
as the. Oh no, it's
biscuit.
not the
No,
same thing. Yeah,
croissant,
yeah.
croissant. No, that's different. So,
Okay.
so I was, so it found me, and it's
Uh-huh.
all full of ADHD, neurodivergent
Oh
people,
no way.
spicy, queer, funny, like I don't know what I'm doing in my life kind of people, right? And we are strong, but I've never had more engagement in my entire life. I've never had so many followers. I've never I'm almost up to 4,000 followers, which to me is a big deal because I started my TikTok with my dog. And then I was like, I'm going to rebrand a Powerline World Tour, see what happens. And then I got what I wanted out of it, which was being friends with Jason Marsden. And
that was
name
so
drop.
cool, by the way.
I'm still friends with him. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yes.
And then that happened, and now I'm just I get tagged in everything. Guy Fieri, Biscuit, Corn Kid. It's Corn. Tariq, the Corn Kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then so that's like kind of where that's at in life.
Nice.
and where I'm at on TikTok. Also, did you ever get stuck in doubloon TikTok? Okay. Yeah. We're on different You need to be on this side. This side's the client side for you.
My side
I'll
of
start
TikTok
sending you
is
stuff.
boring the crap out of me.
Yeah, they're like, here's a dog. You're like,
I mean, there's some good videos, like, don't get me wrong, but like, I think because I stopped, I did get more back into Instagram just because
it's helping your business more. It's connected
a little bit, yeah. And it's like I'm actually getting more engagement from that, and I get to do things. And the thing that I found that's been really great, to go back to why I think I've been able to stick with this so long, is because I'm changing what I do like every 3 to 4 months.
That's smart.
Like,
I tell the people that all the time.
I am almost changing jobs. Like, I'm always doing coaching, right? And I always have clients for coaching, but like, I'm always taking on this new project that's like completely different than what the last thing I was doing. Like, I was talking to you about, I'm doing a cruise, I've done group coaching, I've done like packages for parents, and like everything's just like new. And I'm like, cool, I'm gonna do this thing now. And it is like I'm changing careers, but it's under the umbrella of ADHD.
But you're making, like, I just have to ask, you are making monetary money off of this, because that's my concern for anyone. Because I don't make, well, I made $17 last year off this podcast by not touching it. And then Anchor, I went to upload a different ad, and Anchor won't let me fucking fix it. And so now I'm making $0 off of it. And I'm so mad. I've emailed Anchor so many times. So this is my open casting call. If you're coming here for Ron, please, if you are a podcast network, take me away. I don't want to be on Anchor. Anchor sucks.
I would say I am making money with my coaching business, but other things I'm doing don't necessarily make me money.
It's an ADHD thing, isn't it? Like, we
were just money is just like, sure.
Yeah, my husband, we thought he was getting out of the military. He didn't select twice for lieutenant commander. My husband's he's been in for 17 years, just shy of 6 months of retirement. And they were like, see ya. And but he found a way to stay in, loophole to stay in, and so he's going to be able to retire, which is amazing. Nice. Mahalo. Awesome. Great. Yeah. But the issue right now is that we're waiting on all of these things to happen because like basically he's still getting a severance, even though he's still active duty, because he has to switch designators, right? And so we're waiting on that. So he doesn't want me to take a job that's beneath me, but I personally, and this is just me manifesting, this podcast is great, and it's a platform for so many people, and it gets them so many things. I'm a networker, and I connect everyone as I see it. I've always done that. I've been in a ton of podcasts, a ton of things have happened to me. I've made a lot of good friends from this situation. However, monetarily, this is my year, I've decided, because this is what I love. This is my passion project. I educate people on how not to be an asshole if you're a white person. I have a heart for AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islanders. I have a heart for Black Lives Matter. I have a heart for neurodivergence, mental health, all of that. And that's my platform. And I use my TikTok to educate people, because someone called me a Karen the other day, and I said, what? This is not what we're going to do. Karen is actually a BIPOC word that has been, of course, adopted by white people. And so, whatever. I mean, I'm white, you're white. Sorry, I hate to say it. We're white people. But I know that I have inherent privilege that I didn't earn. Sure. And I use that to be a platform for all of my stuff. So most of my friends are BIPOC, queer, trans, and then that's just who I am. And I've learned so much by doing this and being on TikTok and using this, because as a I was so burnt out with marketing when I got laid off. I was like, fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore. And now I'm at a point where I feel comfortable asking for money for consultation.
Nice.
I'm a side hustler. I do makeup on the side for anyone, any of the spouses out here. I do makeup. I make money off of doing makeup out here. I use my cry cut machine. It's bad boy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I make a lot of stuff for people on the island. I'm actually on Sunday have to help a friend that lives down the street. I help with dog training. I help with fostering. I do all sorts of things. Of course, they don't make me money, but they make me happy. So as far as not making money right now, I'm okay, but I feel a little stressed. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You guys can follow and subscribe to my podcast, and I make money if you do that. But I'm not gonna make you. But my goal is to be picked up and syndicated. That's my goal, and I know it's a big goal, but I think in 2023 it's achievable if I keep the momentum I have. So I now feel like I can start to bring on clients and do their marketing for them. And it takes me 2 seconds. I mean, I showed my neighbor the other day when she came over because she's about to be an esthetician. She's like, "What do I owe you?" I was like, "Honey, I could use my sleep." I pull up canva.com and I'm like, "All right, what's your logo?" Boop, pop it in. I'm like, "Okay, here's your brand colors. Boop, here's your logo." She's like, "How are you doing this?" And I'm like, "I'm going to be honest. I graduated from college in 2010 and I've done digital marketing ever since."
Yeah.
Like, I know what I'm doing. So I think also too, we're always marketing ourselves, right?
Mhm.
And so that's always the hardest thing for someone with ADHD or neurodivergence is to market for themselves
sure.
or advocate for themselves. Because I was always the weird kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you had to mask, but I didn't know why I had trouble in school. I didn't know why I was always told I was too chatty and too loud and too overwhelming.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's good. What you're doing is good. So that's the long story short of the tangent we went on. And people can find you at ADHD Coach Ron.
Yes.
So
Right.
let's talk about imposter syndrome. How are you feeling with that term right now?
I've so what's really interesting, I think everybody, regardless if you have trauma or have ADHD, everyone relates to imposter syndrome at some point. I think mostly because as human beings, we have like a really strange kind of interface when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
our brain that just isn't prepared for like the growth that we are kind of almost forced to experience. But like
Mm-hmm.
especially in today's day and age with how fast technology is, like the
Yeah.
amount of growth that you are expected to, you know, experience is insane. It's
Yeah.
incredible, really, and um I've found that the best, you never get rid of imposter syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this
Never.
goes with just about anything. I don't think I've ever, when I talk to somebody, they talk about like ruminating when they're just like sitting
Mm-hmm.
there taking negative thoughts and like they're just
I
like
did it for a whole
telling the same
year.
stories, right? That stuff doesn't go away. It's
Mm-hmm.
just you learn how to manage it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is with imposter syndrome. And there's times where I'm like, oh shit, I know how to handle this now, no problem. Every time I do something new, it's gonna be easy. And it's not the case
Mm-mm.
because it may be less intense or more kind of time in between, but when it happens every once in a while, it can smack you in the face and really affect you.
Yeah.
Just the other day, it happened to me. And usually it comes from us tying results, at least for me, what I found recently is tying
Mm-hmm.
results to what I'm doing,
Mm,
right?
yep. Yep. Your
Things that are
ROI, return
out
on
of
investment.
control. um, we talk about a lot with people about like a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we live in this society where results are what matters, right? Like I think I'm someone that played a lot of sports when I was growing up, and it doesn't matter, just winning is the only thing that matters. And I think especially in like the sports culture or the capitalistic culture of our country, it's like what have you done lately? What's the results? What has it produced? I don't care how you got there. I don't care. It's just like, did you fail or did you succeed? And failure has become such a bad word
Mm-hmm.
when it's like that is how we grow. And sometimes we're
Exactly.
so afraid of
Yeah.
failure, and
Yeah.
that's where the imposter syndrome comes in.
Absolutely. And while you were talking about that, I remembered that I have a pin on my pen board. This pen board was hung up, but it fell down. I have a pin on my pen board from my best friend, Marcy, who is also neurodivergent like me. And when I found out my diagnosis, she got me this pin that is brain waves of this is what your brain looks like when you have
Uh-huh.
ADHD. The designer is Leslie Holt, Shiny Apple Studio. It's on Etsy. I'll link it. But basically, I've had this ever since. And when I look at it, I realize that I'm not really alone, right? And that this is totally normal. Like my neural pathways are totally normal. So as far as success and like time success and things, I think about me being in marketing, right? And a lot of the times you would have to hit these deadlines and stuff. And, you know, I'm going through this with my mother-in-law who has a cleaning company in Southern California, and she doesn't want to pay for marketing, but she also wants it to go to the website, right? And I'm like, it's not the what, like you're doing B2B, like it's not the, I don't know how to help you. But at the same time, I'm like, if that's what you want, then you have to pay for it. If you want people to call you, go to your website, do these things, that's where you have to send the ad. And I can't guarantee that if you pay someone to do that, mom, that that's going to do what you want. And you're going to be disappointed when that's not the action that happens. Right. So I've done this my whole career. I've been on the client side. I've been on the product side. I've been the client. I've been the person in charge. And I think that's why, as a person with ADHD, now that I know I have it, I like to be my own boss because I call the shots. It's what I say. So I'm finding it very difficult, especially in job search, as I was looking for jobs out here, especially where I was like, I don't want to sit in traffic from 4 a.m. until 6 just to get to downtown. I don't want to sit, like, that's just, why would I do that? And then as far as like stuff that was virtual, like they don't want to hire people in Hawaii. Oh, it's too confusing to find your time zone. I'm like, well, I'm technically a Colorado citizen because I'm a military spouse. Like, it's wild. I own a home in California. I'm a Colorado native, and I'm actually not a native. Don't come for me. I'm a Colorado resident. I vote in Colorado. I own a home in San Diego, and I live on Oahu. And I know that's fucking confusing, but that's how it works. Like, that's just military spousal relief. My husband's live a Colorado resident as well, even though he's from California. Like, it's wild, right? It makes no sense. And so in all of that, and I'm glad I didn't go back into work. I'm glad I didn't take something beneath me. I'm glad I didn't do something that's just going to get me back to the same result where I'm just going to choose the things that make me happy again. Right. And so it's difficult to quantify really how well things are, especially as a person that works in social media. Like, I can tell you, like, that's viral. And my husband will be like, well, what do you mean it's viral? It's not got 100,000 things on it. I'm like, well, to me, it's viral. I got 1,000 views. To me, it's viral. So I totally get
a matter
that.
of perception, right?
Yeah.
Everything's about perception.
I get imposter syndrome with my podcast. I only have, I'm not going to say it out loud, but I've like, as of 3 years, I have probably less streams and downloads than the average podcast that like some bro goes on and does. But I know that the people that are listening are the people that get it and care. So to me, I'm like, do I care that it's not as big as it could be? Do I care I'm not getting sponsorships and ads and monetizing? I mean, yes, a little bit, because I'd love to make money, honey. But I'm like, I know what I'm doing is right. So I get that as well when I have to, you know, basically show my results. And then I feel like, oh, well, I mean, it's this, but like, really, if you think about the big picture, it's that. So yeah.
How does it feel? Right? Like,
I hate it.
I ask myself that. Well, I was going to say the part of like, when you get, you know, somebody sending you a message, or you get engagement from somebody where you're like, oh shit, what I did matters to someone, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love that. That's why when I got a 1-star review, I cried. I only have one 1-star review. And that played into my stairwell kick down the mental health rabbit hole. But I get, as an empathic person, I'm an empath, which means that I very much feel people's feelings and their energies. And I know that my husband's an empath too. And I love him for it. We both have ADHD, and his is different than mine. And I think when you were on, you profiled me, and I think everything you said, if you can recall, I'm very loyal. I'll kick an ass. It's true. I will. And I'm very, I forget what else we even said.
I think it was like, honest.
And, to a fault. To a fault.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure you had like grateful on there too.
Oh yeah. very, very grateful for everything. Like my friends, I'm a sentimental person. I'm a gift giver
Yeah.
who, if I see something for someone, I buy it and I send it off. And my husband hates that I do that, but I do. I've sent a ton of care packages to people on TikTok, and I've
Right.
had people review the candies I've sent. And that to me is such a feel good.
Mhm.
Because yeah, like those are the things that like make me happy and make me feel connected, because I was the weird kid, right? Like I was the weird
Yeah.
kid. I didn't have a lot of friends. I got bullied relentlessly, which, you know what? Thank you for the comedy. If I ever do stand-up comedy, I've got sets for days. And I'm gonna start doing drag out on Oahu. Yeah,
Hell
I'm
yeah.
finally gonna do it.
Nice.
Sheriff Yeti is gonna come to
Hell
slay.
yeah.
Fan
I
clack.
can't wait. I
No,
can't
I
wait to see
know.
that.
But
Um,
yeah.
no, it's interesting, right? I've had so many clients that are people that want to find what it is in their life that they, that makes them happy. I have other ones that are just struggling in their job, but at the end of the day, there's something in common, and that's regardless if, what you do is something that's a passion or what, you can always find, like right now, you don't have to change anything, right? Like you finding the things that you're grateful for, or the things that you can be honest about and passionate about and loyal about, like that's what makes you you, and
Yeah.
that's gonna finding that in the shit you already do is what's really important, and that really helps people that are in jobs that they're struggling with, or if they're in a place where they're like, I don't know what the hell to do, and it's like, start doing things that are you, like
Right, right.
authentically you. And then I always like to say, like, I I try, like, obviously we need to make money. We live in a world where we have to make
Mm-hmm.
money. It
And
can't
it's
just be the thing.
expensive.
Yeah, for sure. And
You're
it's
Southern California, yeah?
yeah, it's so
Rent
fucking
or own?
expensive. We own a condo.
Well,
So,
so do
but
we.
it's a tiny, yeah, it's
Well,
a
it's not a
tiny little
condo.
condo, and it's but the thing is that, like, it's this thing of, when we put pressure on ourselves to make money, we're doing it for the wrong reason, and
Mm-hmm. To
it's
live,
not
not to
as
be happy.
enjoyable. Right. And so
Exactly.
if you're able to find a way to do the thing that you need to do, but
Yeah.
find the joy in doing it, then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm doing this for this reason, and the side effect is making some money, or the side effect is growing my business, or the side
Yeah.
effect is growing my podcast. But it's like, if every day you start to do this and you're like, I do this because I love how I connect to people, or I love how
Mm-hmm.
it helps people, or I'm so grateful for the shit that I have, and then you keep like just focusing on that, eventually it's going to work out to where you start making money
Yeah.
from that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know, I believe it. But
Yeah.
I unfortunately, when moving, I was on this track. I knew where I was going. I was like, I'm going to do
Yeah.
this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And then I overdosed. So,
Yeah.
and to just to go back, guys, it was not intentional. ADHD people, they do
Yeah.
like routine. Unfortunately, my husband wasn't home, and it was just a whole nightmare. And it was no one's fault, really. It was probably my fault, but whatever. It happens. And I will tell you that I'm on a normal amount now. I'm on 10, which is
Nice.
I've been on, and my doctor was like, finally, when we got all of the care back, all good to go, she's like, yeah, 10 is probably what you always should have been on. And all of the comorbidities and the anxiety and the IBS and all of that, and
Yeah.
the stress and having a shitty therapist, all of that combined. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't track on that, but always answer your intake form with threes, not ones. Because they'd be like, do you feel anxious? And I'd be like, no. Meanwhile, my body was like beakering out, like me.
You're lying.
So I appreciate you so much. And I'm so glad that
Yeah,
you've shared a little bit about yourself. You're also wearing a Crash Bandicoot shirt, which
I am. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Wait, what year were you?
In 84.
Okay. Yeah. So you're 38, maybe
Mm-hmm.
39. Oh, wow. Sorry not to age you. I'm 89. My husband's 87. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
but
26.
we're
He's
in our,
29.
we're in our 30s is the point.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
we're millennials.
Mhm.
I consider myself, I hate to say it, but because I think a lot of not to do ageist stuff, but I was born in 1989. I'm older than Taylor Swift, too. I like that. I was born in 1989. I a child of the 90s fully.
Right.
My husband was born in 1987. My husband's from Southern California. And Yeah, we're trying to get back there. San Diego is the fingers crossed, but
For
we're
sure.
like
Nice.
2 of 9 people out of 18 that want to go back to San Diego. And Scott was like, well, we own a house. You only have to move us once. And the military was like, this is
Yeah.
you and everyone else. Okay.
Right. Right.
Um, I also used to work in real estate sector. My bread and butter is queer realtors. I have a bunch of friends that are in San Diego and I help them all the time through like, they're like, what do you think of this video? Would that be stupid? And I'm like, yeah, no, post it. Who cares? Like,
Right.
who cares? Be authentic, be you. That's my biggest advice. Be yourself. Be
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah. So if there's anything you want to add, just as we're here, maybe some promotional stuff before we go into the cool parts.
Yeah. Let's see here. So I mean, I obviously do private one-on-one coaching, but I also do group coaching, which I've been doing now for a little over a year, and I'm super proud of that. Not I know there's, now it's becoming more of a thing where coaches do group coaching, but I know like my coaching certification program never really told us how to do that or taught us how to do it. I just kind of saw a need for it and was like, okay, it's not cheap to get one-on-one coaching from people, and I think people need coaching. Coaching is like where if therapy is um you know being able to work through trauma and
Mm-hmm,
the issues,
mm-hmm.
like coaching can help us uncover the obstacles that are in front of us, because a lot of times it's invisible stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I like to say we kind of bring some stuff to light, and if you can get over that obstacle on your own, or if you can come up with ways to overcome it, then great, we keep moving. But sometimes we're just kind of showing like, oh shit, this bit of trauma might be needed to work through in therapy so
Yeah.
that we can overcome this so you can get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
And I also like to say I help like people untangle their brains, the mess and the highway system that's all over the place in
Yeah.
your head. We just kind of lay it all out and see what's in there. But group coaching is fantastic and more affordable for people, and also a very validating space. And then the big thing that I've been working on, and by the time this airs, it'll be like a couple weeks away. So if you're someone who is an ADHD professional, or you work in the ADHD space as a content creator, or even just the neurodivergent community, and you're someone that is an advocate or creates content or researches or just wants to get into that, we're doing a collaboration cruise. And so basically, we want to get people together to kind of lift each other up in our community and find ways to make ADHD content and help more accessible for everyone. So we're doing a cruise out of Long Beach.
Yeah.
And it's going to Ensenada and Catalina,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's a 4-day cruise, and
That's
it's
so
actually
cool.
relatively inexpensive for what
All right. How much we
cruise.
talking here? Mm.
Like, so my wife and I splurged a little, so we got like a balcony room, and it's like $800 total for the
But
two of
like
us.
everything's included, right?
Three meals,
Okay.
and like
Okay.
snacks and non-alcoholic drinks, and
Yeah.
4 nights.
If I
But
was in San Diego, I would have been able to do it.
dude,
But
yeah,
because I'm
I
not,
hear you.
I can't.
Yeah,
But here's the deal. If you are a person that is on the West Coast, it's going to be cheapest if you're on the West Coast, but anywhere. And
yeah,
this sounds
for
like a
sure.
good idea. I will be sharing all of that information. This will be coming out a couple of weeks before. So you
Sweet.
got time to get your kit and caboodle in order.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I definitely want to share any flyers or any information.
And I
So
would say it's gonna be just like so much fun. Like, we're just
yeah,
gonna be partying on a ship for 4 days with ADHDers. I went to the
that
ADHD
sounds wild.
conference. I went to the ADHD conference in November, and there was the most amazing part of it was like after the talks and stuff, when we were hanging out with people that either we've met online or just kind of were following each other and never really spoke before.
Hmm.
And how much fun it is to get like a bunch of ADHDers in a space where like we're kind of all like interrupting each other, but then apologizing for it. And everybody's like, it's
Oh, that's
fine. It
nice.
doesn't matter. And we're just like having fun and
That's
pretending. And
fun.
like, it feels like you've known each other forever. So the cruise is going to be a blast. We're excited
Yeah.
for it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I can't wait to share all that information. And if you want to find, if people want to find you, they can go to you on TikTok, your ADHD_Ron. If they want to follow you there, or your ADHD
On
underscore
TikTok, I'm
Ron. Oh,
ADHD Coach Ron
oh,
on
ADHD
TikTok.
Coach Ron on
Yeah.
TikTok. For
ADHD
anyone,
underscore on Instagram.
yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know me, I am at Powerline World Tour. on TikTok, and I am at Bianca K-E-Z-Z, Bianca Cakes ZZ. But you can find me through all of the links that are going to be in here. And Ron, we get to move on. We've talked about the big stuff. We get to talk about the fun stuff. So when you were last on the podcast, you told me about a drum kit and you were really into music. What are you currently fanatical about?
What am I currently fanatical about? I've been obsessing over planning this cruise right now. I'm pretty obsessed with my work.
Yeah.
I still have my drum kit, but I haven't played it in like a year, which is hilarious,
And I
right?
just
But
called
it's
you
still
out.
like fun thing. Yeah, I know. It's like sitting in the corner, and every time I see it, I'm like, maybe I'll go play it today. There you go.
No, you won't. I know
I
you.
won't.
You're
Now
gonna
I
look
feel
at
like
it.
I have to. Now I'm gonna videotape it and send it to you and be like, "See, I did it."
Your wife's
Spite, right?
when's like, what are you
Spite's a
doing? And she's
Spite's
like,
a hell
yes,
of a
I'm doing.
motivator.
I am. I mean, maybe I should be a coach. Who knows? Anyway.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that
yeah.
fanaticals. Right now, similar to you work wise, I am fanatical about really just the people I'm talking to, the people I'm booking, the things I'm doing, the collaboration. I mean, getting to see Mike Valdez in person, getting to see my friend I met through like a virtual stuff right now is wild to me.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm just fanatical about being alive, to be honest.
Nice.
That's a
That
good
sounds
place to
like you're
be.
grateful.
Oh,
Mm.
I am grateful. Thank you. Yeah. So, and let's talk about unpopular opinions. I always say, as long as it's not racist or homophobic, I don't
Yep.
care. Opinions are like buttholes. We all have one, hopefully. But do you have any unpopular opinions you've been kind of mulling over in the last year and a half?
This might be more in the space that I am in, like, I would say among ADHD coaches and professionals. Um, and I don't know how unpopular it is. I feel like there's enough information out there to justify me, but toxic positivity is bullshit.
That was your last
And
one. Yeah, it's still
it was
going.
it? It's
Yeah.
still, I mean, I've done, yeah, I tried to submit to do a talk for it at the conference and it got shut down. And I'm like, because they aren't ready for it. They don't want to hear that, like, we shouldn't be
ADHD is your
saying,
superpower.
oh
It isn't.
God,
It isn't. It can be
and
very debilitating.
there's some people that I respect that still, are stuck with their, like, well, it is a superpower. Like, and there comes talk about privilege. There's a lot of privilege that comes with that. Most people that say that ADHD is your superpower are white people. Because
Oops. Just kidding.
we have
I don't.
no, but seriously, and look, I say this, you are allowed to do whatever works for you. So anybody listening out there, we're like, wow, I, have found that it works for me to consider it my superpower, then that's totally great. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. What I am saying is people that are professionals or have a following that are just broadcasting this out there, it is such an invalidating thing because what we're telling people is you can't use this to explain what your difficulty is. And so if you tell
Mm-hmm.
me ADHD is a superpower and then I try to use it as a superpower and then I get fired the next day because of my ADHD symptoms, I'm going to start to look at, well, then it's not my ADHD, it's me. I'm the
Yeah.
problem. I'm the negative character trait. And at the end of the day, it is a disability. It is something that we need to take seriously. And just like anything else, we have strengths, right? We have certain character traits that are really important to us. Like I was talking to you about, having honesty and being grateful and funny. And like those things are your strengths. But to not be aware of the things that are difficult for you, like the things that your ADHD symptoms, make more of a struggle, just
Mm-hmm.
ignoring that is not the way to go about it.
Yeah.
If you can look up toxic positivity and see why it is so difficult. And really what it is just finding the nuance between being positive, right? Instead of saying to somebody like, don't say that, just be positive. Like that's
Yeah.
bullshit. You know?
Well, yeah, you're right. It
Yeah.
invalidates completely. Like, by being like, well, have you tried being happy? It's
Yeah.
like, have you tried taking a breath? It's like there's some advice just doesn't, it's fodder at that point. Some advice is just not great. And I think another unpopular opinion you had uncovered the last time, and it's something it's really stuck with me. Both those things have stuck
Yeah.
with me. The other one was that I believe in too, is that, It's TikTok and mental health and self-help books and all of that, and these creators, it's great, but it's not an official diagnosis. And I know that not everyone has access to healthcare, and I know that not everyone can find a sympathetic doctor. If you need to find one in San Diego, I have one. If you're looking to find one in Hawaii, I have one. I can share that listens and understands. But at the same time, my diagnosis is not your diagnosis, which is not my spouse's diagnosis, which is you can say that you have these things, but I'm finding a lot of people, and I don't know how unpopular this might be, finding a lot of people are going, oh, I seem like I have autism, so I'm autistic. Or I seem like I have ADHD, so I have ADHD, but it's like, well, did someone figure that out for you? It's okay to think maybe I have it, but I always worry, and I want to just make this disclaimer right now, because Ron's on the podcast and because I'm on the podcast. I am not a medical professional, nor is Ron. Ron is trained and he's a coach, but medical professional doctor, we are not. So we are here if you have, if you think you're neurodivergent, that's great. But again, don't take this podcast as the wrath of God. It's just, we are just sharing our experiences. Of course, if you do think you do reach out to Ron, or do reach out and maybe there's resources, but that's my unpopular opinion. Is I really worry about the younger generation getting served all of this stuff and going, I have this. And because I, as a millennial, an elder millennial, I guess, I don't know. I guess we're all millennial. I don't know. As a millennial, I have found that, the way we went to school and the way that we were raised and the way that things happened were obviously very different than they are now. And, be it social, political climate, whatever it might be, it's a very different world. And so I can't really help you. And so I don't know what that's like. I haven't been in high school for over 10, almost 20 years. Right. So it's like, can't help you. Right.
I think I was going to say that I think there's nuance to that too. And I don't know if I brought this up before, but like, self-diagnosis is also valid because of accessibility issues, and because I've known plenty of people that have even gone through the correct avenues, and there's a lot of misinformation that even doctors believe. Like, I've had people say like, oh, my doctor won't even get me tested for ADHD, he says, because I'm a girl. Or he says because I'm, my child's getting straight A's, or my child is, doesn't seem like they're fidgety, like, and all this stuff. And I'm like, that stuff is old beliefs. Like, that's like 30 years ago. Like, where's the doctor getting their information? So, so there is a bit of a balance where it's like self-diagnosis is valid, but you have to do your research and understand that if you connect to, let's say ADHD TikTok videos or autistic TikTok videos or any
or taste the biscuit.
Yeah, right. If you connect to those things, it is up to you to be your own advocate and to do your own to research and understand it, and to try to get an actually official diagnosis. But it doesn't hurt to be like, well, these things help me. None of this is an excuse, right? Like, ADHD isn't an excuse, it's an explanation. And so if you're struggling with something, then you're struggling with something, and it's up to you to try to get the help that you need.
Yeah. I have a person that I know that got a diagnosis of ADHD, but couldn't be medicated for it. They're in Canada. I mean, who knows if that's true or whatever. And my biggest issue was, this is gonna make me sound like a dick, but my biggest issue was that they were just using this diagnosis as it's my ADHD. Well, I can't do this because my ADHD, my ADHD, my ADHD, my ADHD. And it's like, your
mental health doesn't give you an excuse.
It doesn't give you an excuse to be a butthole, really, truly. Right. Like, and so, I mean, and then I hope this person finds, I had to break up with them as a friend, but I hope this person finds the inner peace that they need. And I want them to know that I validate their experience and their diagnosis. But for me personally, as a person who has been diagnosed for a while, and I'm not by any means an expert, don't quote me on anything. I have the type of ADHD I have. My spouse has a type of ADHD he has, and that's it. And we are two different types of ADHD, I'll say. So I agree with you totally, wholeheartedly. I think, use the tools you can. Obviously, it's still valid, but I agree with you. So can we segue to the Muppets?
Let's just go right there. Like, here we are, Muppets.
Don't sue me.
I don't think they can, just for doing that part.
Well, yeah, because it's terrible. It's the worst impression you've ever heard. I had asked you on the fly, because you're the first person I ever asked this question to, what Muppet are you and why? And previously you said animal because of the drums, and that's why I brought up the drums.
Yep.
So now, what would you say you would be?
Animal.
Okay.
And it's more than just the drums for me. And I wouldn't say I'm just this like crazy person that acts like animal, but animal gets to be himself, and animal gets to just be like authentic, and that's what I strive to be, regardless if it's completely acceptable for me to, like, I mean, certain little things I do, like sometimes I worry, right? Like some of my fears are that like people think I dress like a kid, or like a 20-year-old, or like people think that I'm too excitable, or I talk too much, or I am trying to always get involved in everything everyone's doing, and it's just I'm excited. I like things and I like people, and I am like, oh,
my husband's the same way. Like he's like, what's going on, guys? Like,
yeah, like that's and it's like that's who I am. And when I'm obviously there's like things, and again, not an excuse to be rude, right?
No. You're polite about it, but people can be like, that's overwhelming.
And if it is, like, I'm learning how to be like, oh, okay, cool. That doesn't mean I'm masking it. It's just saying to somebody, examples like, hey, I'm someone that might get really excited about something and then never talk about it again, or say, like, almost like promise things. And I'm not even promising. I'm just going, oh my God, that'll be so much fun. We should do that. And then it never happens. And I'll even tell people that happens because I'm really excitable.
Yeah.
And in the moment, I really want to do all these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why animal, for sure.
Sure. I have to just say this because the thought is in my head. The amount of times that I've gotten really excited about someone proposing a D&D thing, and I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And then it never happens. So I saw a meme once that was like, everyone's going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, but you're never going to play. And I feel that to myself.
I've played a couple times, and there's been so many times that I want to get like a new campaign going in it.
Okay. Well, if we move back, it'll be a once a month.
Yes, it can't be more than once.
It's got to be on Zoom though, because like, come on, it's gotta be on Zoom. There's got to be beveraginos involved. Anyway, so then I told you that I was going to ask you a spicy question about the Muppets, which then is very wild. I don't remember the TikTok person, but they had a question. It was, what Muppet would you sleep with and why? I have mentioned that I want to be on Conan Needs a Fan. This would be the question that I would ask Conan if they are. I'm actually having a guest that was on Conan Needs a Fan in a couple of weeks, named Red Velvet. Anywho, you can sleep with only one Muppet. Well, I mean, you know what? You can give me a top 5 if it's weird for you.
A top 5?
I don't know. I don't know what you do. I've
got thoughts. I guess now I'm sitting here like,
it can be not Muppets too. It can be Sesame Street, which is weird. Geez. It can be Jim Henson. I had a person say someone from Fraggle Rock. It could be anything in Jim Henson's collection.
Holy crap! This really opens up the door to a lot. It
does. You can put a hand up it. You can fuck it.
You could fuck it. Who do you want to fuck here? I mean, my first instinct is to say Janice because
she's down.
Animal, like it would just make sense.
It would make so much sense.
Another like some other ideas is I'm thinking Beaker, just because of how funny.
Scott said Beaker. Okay, what's your reasoning? Yeah, Scott was like, it's got to be the only time he's vocal in the bedroom, and I just need to know.
I just want to know what that sounds like when you're having sex. That's really funny.
That's so funny.
The other thing is just Kermit, because it's like when you go, like, if you were to go to jail, like you're supposed to take down the number one, right? Like that's like your thing. It's like, so I feel like I would fuck Kermit to maybe harness some of his power as like the number one Muppet.
You would hi-ho him.
Yeah, really. Yeah, right. Like, listen, sometimes you gotta get to.
What's the song he's got?
To the top.
Rainbows and
to the top.
Rainbows and.
Oh yeah.
Oh well, we're embarrassing. We don't know the song.
Names of things.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's. Yeah, I'll stick with those 3.
So
Yeah.
for me it's Fozzie. Fozzie Bear.
Yeah.
He is I like men to be bigger than me in the sense of my husband is shaped like a linebacker. I appreciate it. I'm stocky, short. But I also feel like I feel protected. Fozzie would bring a pie. He'd be wearing a scarf and nothing else and a top hat. And that's just
Oh, you've
there's
already
just
got his
easy.
outfit. That's
Well,
amazing.
so that's actually something Mike Valdez said. So Mike Valdez said that on the most recent episode he's been on, and I
Uh-huh.
think it's funny, so I'm going to keep doing it.
That's hilarious.
But then I've told this a lot, but I like to tell my guests because I think that they'll think it's funny. Saw this on the TikTok. I said Fozzie. Scott said Beaker, and then we're sitting on the couch, and he turns to me and he goes, "Wait a second, why fuck one Muppet when you can fuck two?" Statler and Waldorf.
I thought about them and I'm just like
It would be
it would be a
really.
hate fuck, right? Like it would just be this like
Oh man, yeah. So I put a video up on TikTok about it. I'm surprised I have not been
nice.
banned, but basically I talked about Eiffel Towers and all sorts of funny things there. If this is rated explicit because of this, I'm sorry, YouTube. No children should be watching it. But they talk about puppets. Mommy, what does that mean? Anyway, love that. All right, as we're
What's an
winding
Eiffel
down.
Tower?
Well, there's one in Las Vegas, and that's not it. There's one in
Nerd.
Paris. And I'll tell you what, no, Statler and Waldorf aren't going to take you there. They're going to take you behind the curtain of the balcony.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
funny.
So, Ron, I appreciate you so much for being on this podcast. And
Yeah.
as we wind down, the last question is always, what is currently making you happy in this world?
Um, all of the people that I get to meet constantly.
Yeah.
I feel like I am just rich with friends and people I can count on.
I feel the same way. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad the FYP introduced you to me so many moons ago.
Yeah.
If we get back to San Diego, we'll be up in the LA area. I know that you live pretty close to my in-laws, so or somewhere near
Nice.
them. We'll grab a drink in person. I can't wait
For
to
sure.
meet Gwen. But mahalo for your time today. Of course, everyone, this
Thank
is
you.
Please Don't Kick Me Out, the only inclusive podcast about imposter syndrome. If you like Ron, where can they find you?
You can go to ADHDCoachRon.com.
Yay.
And all
And
my
if
stuff's on there too. Or so
perfect.
ADHD Coach Ron on TikTok, ADHD_Ron on Instagram. And yeah. And
And
here you can find me on
yeah.
Please Don't Kick Me Out
Yeah.
podcast.
And to my listeners, again, I'm going to have some roll credits as I always do, but I did mention, please don't kick me out.com/shop. Buy your 90s fantasy, 90s nostalgia. Thank you so much to my designer, Laura. And if you want to be a podcast guest, you can hit me up at pdkmopodcast@gmail.com or go to please don't kick me out.com. Thank you so much, Ron. Aloha Friday and happy
Yeah,
Friday.
for sure.
Mahalo.
See ya.